Good morning, everyone. My name is Andrea Roach, the principal of Highfield Junior School, and I'm joined here today by our Vice Principal, Jasbir Tatla. It is our absolute pleasure to welcome all of you here today. Jasbir and I would like to extend a very, very warm welcome to our distinguished guests, which include Premier Ford, Minister Calandra, Minister Bethlenfalvy, Interim Director Stacy Zucker, and Interim Superintendent of Education Mike Gallagher. Thank you for being here. Highfield is a reflection of the very best of Canada. Yes, the very best of Canada. We are a tapestry of different cultures, religions, and abilities. We are a family in the truest of sense. At Highfield, we believe that every child belongs to every staff member. The most powerful learning happens when students feel known, seen, and valued by adults who care. Our talented teachers, special needs assistants, educational assistants, and custodians don't just teach, they mentor, they inspire, and they care for every student as their own. We strive to make learning joyful and to build an inclusive environment where every single child can belong, achieve, and strive. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce our first speaker. Please join me in welcoming the Minister of Education, Paul Calandra.
Well, thank you so much, Principal. It's really nice to be here at Highfield. It's always nice to get into the schools, and let me just start by thanking the teachers and the educators who really are the backbone of the entire educational system. You know, parents just want one thing. I think parents want the same thing that teachers want, the absolute best for the kids that they teach, and the parents want the absolute certainty that their kids are going to have the best opportunity to succeed. And without our teachers, without our educators, and everybody involved in making a school a safe, welcoming, and a place where you can learn, we wouldn't have that. So I would really, really want to thank all of you. And again, thank you, Principal. It's through your leadership and your team's leadership that we're able to have some of the best educational, some of the best schools in all of Canada right here in the province of Ontario. I also just briefly, I'm here obviously with the Minister of Finance and the Premier. He'll probably give credit, but it's the credit for all of this has to do with these two. They're the ones, one who makes the financing work, and the other one who gives you permission to do things. So I'll just say that in advance. Look, it has been no secret that there has been a lot of challenges within the educational system across the province of Ontario, but we've been completely focused on one thing, and that is ensuring our students have the best opportunity to succeed. And by doing that, we know it is that we have to give our teachers the resources that they need to help our kids succeed. When I've gone into classroom after classroom after classroom, it is teachers, educators who've told me the same thing. Give me the tools that I need, and I will give you the absolute best from our students. That's all we are asking for, and that is a lot of what today is all about. So again, thank you so much for everything that you do. Let me just promise you this. The Premier, when I took the job, said make sure that you do everything you can to give our students the best opportunity to succeed. Support our teachers, and don't ever hesitate. Don't ever hesitate to get in there and put things back on track. That's a little bit of what we did with Bill 33, and we will not hesitate to step in when we see that education has moved from student focus to something other than that. We will continue to step in and do what's right by our educators, do what's right by our students, parents, and families. So again, thank you so very much. And with that, it's my pleasure to call on the Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Minister Calandra. You're doing such a great job. And you know, every time you talk with me or with our colleagues or out in the ridings, you talk about wanting to do more to make sure the record investments we've made in education end up in the hands of teachers for the benefit of pupils and parents. And you're doing a remarkable job in that regard. A very humble man. I'll be introducing shortly the 26th Premier of Ontario, and it's a pleasure to join him. Principal Roach, you delivered some great remarks there, so she was a little bit nervous. I thought she did an outstanding job. To the teachers here, we all have a teacher that shaped who we are today. I can remember Mrs. Rashkovsky, my kindergarten teacher. Mrs. Winter, grade 1, Miss Orr, grade 2, who really taught me math, grade 3, Mrs. Ferguson, grade 4, Mrs. Harmer. I could go on. And I just met my grade 9 math teacher at the high school reunion, Miss Ross. Now she's Mrs. something, but I remember her as Miss Ross. And she remembered me from 100 years ago. And she had such an influence on me in teaching me math. I had so much respect for her. And here I am today as the Minister of Finance. And it's a privilege and an honor to be able to support this announcement, which will empower teachers, you folks who are impacting our children's lives. You know, you're having such an influence. This guy was influenced when he was 10 years old or 8 years old. It shapes who we are. So thank you for your service to the children of Ontario, to the parents who love their children, to all of Ontario. From the bottom of my heart, I'm so grateful for what you do day in, day out. You're so fantastic. And none of this would be possible, folks. The teleprompter person is having a real challenge because I'm not sticking to the script at all. My apologies, whoever's doing that. You know, none of this is possible without the great leadership and ideas coming from the Minister of Education, who is pushing more to our teachers, to our frontline workers, for the benefit of our students. And the guy who makes it all happen, because none of this happens, folks, without the leadership and the vision of a remarkable individual, the 26th Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford.
Well, first of all, good morning, everyone. I love going into these schools, especially my hometown, my entire life. And I'm just blessed that we've been able to represent Rexdale here for 3 generations, 3 decades. And I can tell you, I always tell our educators, our teachers, when I see them out there, I just told them again, I couldn't do your job. It's incredible, the job that you do. And we're very, very grateful. And I want to thank the Minister of Money. I call him Money Bags, but he signs off on all the expenses, and we need to focus in the classroom. And, you know, Minister Paul Calandra, most modest person you want to meet, it's his idea. Simple as that. And Principal Roach, thank you. And thank you for having us at this beautiful Highfield Junior Public School. You know, I always say we know, everyone in our country knows we're under attack for tariffs and economic uncertainty, that we know that President Trump is going after us. And I was telling the students, they said, what's your most favorite part of the job? And I said, I have many parts of my job, but my number one job is to protect Ontario, protect the students, and protect the people and the communities and their parents' jobs. And that's our key focus. And I always say the foundation of everything that we do, funding education, healthcare, infrastructure, roads and bridges, is one thing. It's our economy. And without a strong economy, nothing else gets funded. So we're really focused on that, cutting red tape and making it easier for companies to come here and invest, so we can, in return, invest in the future of our province. And the future of our province is right here in schools right across the entire province. And I'm just so proud today to announce an idea that Minister Calandra came up with, and we've all seen it. I was in a store with my assistant Julia, and where was I? I think it was a Dollarama, and I was in there, and I met a couple educators, and I said hello, and they're picking up school supplies, and they're paying out of their own pocket. And you know, sure enough, a couple weeks later, same scenario. I met a few teachers, and I offered to pay for them. I think I paid for one, but the others said, no, that's fine. But the days of teachers having to, you know, put their hands in their own pockets to pay for school supplies, those days are done. And what happens, folks? Money gets transferred, and it goes to the school or the principal, and then they distribute a small amount. And again, Mr. Roach, thank you for everything you're doing here. And this community means everything to our family. When people call and they're from Etobicoke or Etobicoke North or anywhere, they go right up to the top. They jump over the 6,000 other phone calls just to make sure they're okay. You know, we're going to announce today a purchasing card, and Paul, you can elaborate more on it. But every teacher, every elementary teacher in the province is going to have something like this. This is a $750 supply card, so you can buy supplies for the classroom, and that's going to help out tremendously. You know, I was going to go, I'm doing the same as them. I'm totally ignoring the teleprompter that we've invested $30 billion in building new schools and all the other stuff. It's all nonsense. What matters is what happens here in the classroom. So $750 to every school year to ensure the teachers have the tools they need. Just like Minister Calandra said, you need the tools. And this is the first time, believe it or not, the first time in the history of Ontario, they're going to be able to go out and go online. And it's probably going to be through a website, probably Supply Ontario, because we have bulk purchasing power across the province. And they're going to be able to pick up the supplies. But even further, it's not us that is going to decide what the teachers need. It's the teachers that are going to decide what they need, because every class is unique. Every class may be different. And we're going to be out there. All of our MPPs are going to be going into schools and talking to the frontline educators and getting a list of what they need. So then in the school year, upcoming school year, they're going to be able to go out online, register, and then be able to distribute the $750 within their classroom. And so I'm just so proud. I think this is the greatest thing I think we've ever done for public education. It's going to be from JK to grade 8, so it's going to be the elementary schools. And again, I just want to thank everyone from Highfield Junior Public School. And again, I keep emphasizing the educators and teachers. Sometimes, you know, it doesn't matter what political stripe you are. You could be from the orange, the red, the blue, the green, and everyone takes their turn in government, and sometimes there's a little controversy. I can assure you 1,000%, we love our teachers. We love the jobs they do, and because you're right on the front lines. So again, I thank you for the job you're doing, and I guess we'll open it up for Minister Calandra. Do you want to go a little more detail about the cards? Okay,
Sure.
yeah, sure.
Sure. So I'll just add on to the premier. So as I said, all educators will get a card. It'll explain to them how to get online. It'll be a porthole that will be established through Supply Ontario. Later today, teachers, in your inbox, you will get a survey from the ministry asking us what types of supplies you would like to see on it. To the left, you can see a sampling of the things that we think from talking to all of you of what you will most likely want on that supply. But rest assured, we are going to all of the very same places that you are going, educators are going, to ensure that we have anything and everything that you need so that you can go online and have it delivered directly to you. To the principals, I will say this, a lot of principals said to me, shared their frustrations that sometimes the teachers had, that they're were put in the middle sometimes of being able to provide supplies to the classroom. That takes the principal out of that challenge and gives it right to the teacher. You get what you need to support your students in the classroom, and this will be available to all educators, homeroom teachers, beginning September of this year. So look for the survey. If there's something that we have missed, you see some of the things on the table, something we've missed, put it on, because we want to make sure that you have everything that you need to help your students succeed. And I guess with that, we can take questions. Yeah.
We will now take questions from the media. Media can come to the microphone and state their name and outlet. Just a reminder, the format is one question, one follow-up. First question.
I want to give these to the teachers in the room later. These are going to be collector's items one day.
Hi, it's Chris Rishowi from the Toronto Star. I was just wondering, rather than providing cards and setting up a website and a procurement process and maybe checks and balances, would it not just be easier to provide schools with direct funding to pay for things like paper products and tissues and paper towels?
Great question. That's what's happening now, and it doesn't get to the frontline teachers. And Paul, if you want to jump in and elaborate on that.
I mean, that is a good question, and the Premier is ostensibly is correct, right? And often puts the principal or vice principal in a challenging situation. But I've crisscrossed the province. I've talked to a lot of teachers. Almost every single teacher, every classroom I go into, they tell me the exact same thing. I need to have the ability to order things for myself so that I can address some of the needs in my classroom. And it's not like it's what the Premier says, walking in Dollarama and seeing a teacher, the same thing happens to me at the Stouffville Walmart. I always run into teachers who are out there buying something. So this cuts that out. It uses the buying power of Supply Ontario with all of the exact same partners that they will go to, and not just a limited. We've heard from teachers as well. I will say this. From a lot of teachers say that the platform that they go to right now to buy supplies is far more expensive than if they were just to go to Walmart or Dollarama and buy that. So what we are going to do is bring the purchasing power of the entire province of Ontario together, offer more, offer it at a lot less cost, and let teachers go online for themselves to buy what they need for their classrooms, and I'm excited about it. And this is, again, Premier gives me credit, I give him credit, and with Finance Minister pays the bills, but this is an idea that literally came from teachers in classrooms that we have visited, and anecdotally being at Walmarts or Dollaramas and seeing what's going on and saying, okay, this is just not good enough anymore, we can do better, and that's where it came from.
And how did you settle on the amount of $750? Because I found a couple of jurisdictions in the U.S. and they provide $200 and $500 usually just for first-year teachers.
Yeah, well, we want to do better than anybody else, frankly, and we know the challenges that teachers have been facing. If I just stray for 1 second, I just want to really quickly congratulate the Italian men's national baseball team, if I can, who defeated the Americans last night at the World Baseball Classic, and will have a difficult time for the Americans to come out of the pool because of the Italian men's team. I got a lot of questions and comments from my relatives in Italy who are very excited about that. So sorry, straying from that, but baseball is American pastime, and now they're not going to make it out of the pool. But anyway, I digress. Look, we want to do better. Our teachers, our educators, they work very hard. And in discussions with them, they said, look, this is about what we need. It's not about, it's an amount that makes sense to them. If they don't use it in a year, it'll roll over to the next year, and they can continue to use it. This is what they need, and we're going to give them what they need in the classroom. This is what all of the reform is about. It's about student-focused, teacher-focused, and giving them what they need to succeed, full stop.
That's great. I think we got to emphasize it will roll over to next year. So they'll have the supplies if they don't use it all. But we had three levels, the 250, the 500, and 750. And it took everyone about a half a second on our cabinet to say 750. It'll be the highest in North America. Well deserved, I'll tell you. Well deserved.
Hi, Premier. Liam Casey with the Canadian Press. Question for you and for Minister Calandra. Is this a way to placate teachers ahead of contract negotiations?
I find that question insulting. We don't placate anyone. We appreciate our teachers. They're incredible people. I tell them all the time. Like I said earlier, I can't do their job. Negotiations are negotiations. That's through the union and the ministry. But no, I love our teachers. I tell every single one of them that I love them, and I appreciate the job they do. Very few people could be an educator and then go home and do all the marking and everything else and da-da-da-da-da. So anyways, next question.
So there's a bunch of education groups at Queen's Park who represent pretty much all of the education system, and they are asking for you guys to consult with them ahead of any decisions on trustees. Will you do that?
Well, we're just reviewing everything, and I'll pass this over to Minister Calandra. Our core values, we need to make sure everything goes inside the classroom. That's where the students learn, and that's our key focus, to support the students. And even at a very young age in elementary school, getting them ready for their next step in life, which is high school. And then the next step, either they're going into the work world or they're going to college or university. But we want to make sure that they're ready.
Look, almost 40% of the population, the student population in the province of Ontario, is under the control of the Ministry of Education right now through supervisors. across the province, and that ostensibly is to ensure that classroom funding is maximized to lower down the temperature that we had seen in advance of supervision. Honestly, my main job, frankly, isn't to listen to people who want to advocate to maintain their position. I think my main job as the Minister of Education is to talk to students, to talk to parents, and to talk to teachers, to talk to educators. What is it that you need to succeed? For me, as both a parent and as a Minister of Education, and the mandate that I've been given from the Premier is, we want better. You know, it's fine and dandy for Ontario to be arrogant about a $43 billion Ministry of Education budget. We can go around the world and say, oh, we're one of the highest budgets in the world. But if our students aren't succeeding, and if there's a problem that stops them from succeeding, it's not our teachers. We know that because we have some of the best teachers in the world. Absolutely. So what is the problem with the system? And that is what we are going to solve. So I say to all of those who are involved in the system, teachers aren't afraid to tell me what they need. That's what today is about. Principals have not been afraid to tell me what they need. So I would suggest to all of those vested interests, the trustee associations, put first students, put parents first, and then give me your advice based on that. If it's just about saving your job, that's a non-starter. But if it's about how we can make the system better, then we'll listen. But it has to be about student achievement, full stop. Without that, then no, I'm just simply not going to listen. And on your first question, look, as Minister of Education, my job is to make sure our teachers get the absolute best deal possible. But as a member of provincial parliament, as a member of the government, it's also I have to put the other hat on, making sure that we can pay for everything that we do. And the Premier gave me one mandate: student achievement through better resources for teachers. And that's what we're going to focus on, full stop. Sorry.
No, that's good.
Good morning, Premier.
You know why it's good, Paul? It's the truth.
John Jefford, CBC News. Premier, I just wanted to follow up on Chris's first question there. You know, I think a lot of parents and teachers are accustomed to the notion that, you know, they're using their money to buy things like toilet paper, tissues, paper towels. But if you are a regular Ontarian who's not plugged into the school system and doesn't know that's the state of play, how are they not to blame you and your government after 8 years and say that this is a symptom of underfunding in the education system?
Well, I'll pass it over to the minister once again, but that's furthest from the truth. And really, it's unfortunate that you've been misinformed. Go back all the way to when we took office, 2018. Look at every single budget moving forward. And then look at a different budget. Look at the infrastructure budget that the previous government closed 600 schools. 600 schools. We're building 30 billion with a B, $30 billion worth of schools all around. And, you know, I skipped my teleprompter. Maybe I should pull it back up and rattle off all the investments that we're making in education. Each year, per student, funding is going up. Do we see a decline this year of approximately over 50,000 students? Population is dropping overall the whole province. So we'll address that. But Paul, you want to?
Yeah, I mean, let's put it this way. So we came in office in June 2018. Shortly after that, we were faced with the global health and economic crisis through COVID. Much of that learning went back home. The province of Ontario had to pivot for much of the first mandate and into the second mandate with respect to how we delivered education. Coming out of that, we then went back into the classrooms to talk to teachers. What are the challenges that you're facing with educators? And they said, this is one of the challenges. We hear about it a lot. There are some funding, there are some resources that have been given to our boards to provide this level, to provide funding. On average, about 300, but it doesn't always get to the teachers. And this is what teachers have said to us. Give us some more resources for our classroom. Look, an education system isn't static. It just doesn't stop, right? It's always evolving to try to get better. This is something specifically for teachers coming out of the challenges that we have had. And look, you know, you look at the system, like, frankly, like, you know, Bill 33, before Bill 33, it was very hard for a minister to go in Minister of Education, to go in and see what was going on in boards that were in a surplus situation. We have a board in Northern Ontario, for crying out loud, that had a $3.7 million surplus. No reason for us to go in, and yet educators and students are in a half-demolished building because trustees couldn't get their act together. So this is about putting resources back into the classroom, focusing on educators, making sure that they have the tools they need to succeed. And if 3 years from now we hear that something else is required for our teachers to help them succeed, then we'll deal with that 3 years from now, right? But it is an always evolving system. But I think sometimes we forget the challenges that Ontario has faced since we came into office, right? And this really is hearing from teachers and educators said, look, great, you've done all of this work. We appreciate the back to basics. We appreciate the supports. But now we need this little extra help to help us succeed and get our job done better. And we're going to do that. We're going to continue to listen. If there's more that's needed, then we'll step up and do more.
But so we have expanded over 41 schools. Let me just, I'm going to be very frank, pull down where we expanded 41 schools. I can't have this all memorized, but 41 new and expanded schools and communities across the province, adding nearly 18,000 student spaces in 5 French language schools. Here in Etobicoke, we're building the new Catholic school down at Buttonwood Hill and new Etobicoke City Centre Elementary School, renovating Bishop Allen Academy Catholic Secondary School to make sure every single student gets the education they deserve. So we're going to continue looking moving forward. But student success would not be possible without the 85,000 elementary school teachers who dedicate their lives, not just in the classroom, outside the classroom as well. And as the finance minister said, I don't think there's a person out there that doesn't remember a teacher that's impacted their lives one way or another. And again, we're investing over $30 billion over the next 10 years to build more schools, cleaner schools, more modern schools. And that's what we're focused on. Next question.
Premier, question for you about Billy Bishop Airport and the expropriation plans in the province. The city spent a lot of time developing a lot of plans, including a master plan for that airport, as I understand it. Is it fair to exclude them from the future planning process for this airport?
Well, I've had a conversation with the mayor, and I'll continue having a conversation. The facts are, parts of their council wants to turn it into a park. There's no doubt. There's no secret that they want to turn it into a park. They want to build tall buildings until planes can't land. Unacceptable. We're focusing on, convenience. Rather than people having to drive all the way up to Pearson, that's at capacity with over 40 million passengers going through there. A city our size, no different than be it Chicago or New York, that have dual airports. It's convenience. It's competitive, so we'll lower the cost of flights as well. It's an economic driver, the likes of which we've never seen. It's a crown jewel, and it's great that people can be able to fly in to the Billy Bishop Airport and have optionality. Optionality is a magical word. You either have to go up to Pearson and fight your way through the crowds up there, or you get on to Billy Bishop. Folks, we've done poll after poll after poll. Every poll is overwhelmingly in favor of having the optionality of going downtown, especially if you live there, hopping on a plane and going across the country or going wherever the planes will bring you at a more competitive cost.
Hey, good morning, Premier Colin DeMello from Global News. Just wanted to return to the issue of school board trustees. We've been told that your government has explicitly made a decision, but has not communicated it publicly yet, that you will not be going ahead with the elimination of any public school board trustees. Can you confirm that?
Well, I can't confirm it right at this second. Everything's on the table, but what we want to do is focus in classroom. What we don't want to see is mismanagement. And Minister Calandra could sit up here for the next hour talking about mismanagement of boards. And don't get me wrong, I don't like painting a broad brush across every board. There's some really good boards, really ones that are run well. But there's some that are just terribly run. I can say one thing, and I can't speak for every teacher, but every teacher I speak to do not see eye to eye with the boards. I'll just tell you that. And they want to see focused in their classroom. They need the support. They need the tools. And that's what this announcement's all about.
And of course, we're going to have elections municipally coming up later on this year. Trustees are part of those elections.
Yes.
This is kind of a yes or no question. Will public school board trustees be on the ballot this year?
Oh, that was good, Colin. You did the old circle around, the old bear trap. See, I learned everything off of Colin. But we'll come out with an answer on that shortly. But again, I know ministers' focus is in the classroom with our educators, with our teachers, with our great principals. What we can't see are school boards going to Blue Jay games at $22,000, and that's what ticks off the educators. So they sit back and all of a sudden they read the headlines. You know, the school board trustees are at a Blue Jays game at $20,000, or school board trustees go to Italy. Sorry, Polly, but they go to Italy and buy $100,000 worth of artwork. Hey, when I came in this school, this is a traditional school that the kids' paintings are all over and a beautiful welcome sign. That's what schools are about. Not going by to Italy and buying $100,000 worth of beautiful Italian artwork. Like, you tell an educator that, they're thinking something's wrong here. Like, I want that money in the classroom. I don't want them going on trips. Those are two at endless, outrageous expenses, like wild expenses. And do any of the teachers, any of your teachers get to call up at 2 o'clock in the morning and order milkshakes for your family? No, you don't. Or order burgers? Or do you have 5 laptops? No. Do you have iPhone watches? No. And the taxpayers are paying for all this. This is a fraction of the stories that I'm telling you. Again, Minister Calandra could sit here all day long and tell you the mismanagement and the abuse of taxpayers' dollars that should be in the classroom.
Hi, Premier. Tina with City News.
Tina.
Premier, some of your ideas lately, for example, the convention center, the tunnel under the
Great
401,
ideas.
those are going to cost billions of dollars.
Great ideas.
And I know a lot of teachers, educators are wondering why there is money for those projects when classrooms aren't even getting their basic supplies like toilet paper and paper towels.
Let's address that. All the money comes, again, the foundation of our education and healthcare and infrastructure is the economy. We're spending $56 billion. We're losing $56 billion a year. That's the Toronto Board of Trade's numbers on congestion. Any educator, you're talking about educators, go on the 401 any time of the day. It's going to take them an hour to get across the city, which is unacceptable. So there's 2 types of politicians, in my opinion. Ones that sit there and look day by day, budget by budget, which is important to look at budgets every year. And then there's visionaries that plan for 50 years down the road. And the reason why we're spending $30 billion in building new schools, because they want a nice, clean working environment. So we have the busiest highway in the entire North America, I'd say probably in the world, on the 401, and it's jam-packed right up. I drive by there at midnight, and it's bumper-to-bumper cars. So we need to get people and goods back and forth to their destination as quickly as possible. Let's talk about the convention center. So we're last place. We're last place in North America. So little cities like Baltimore are kicking our butts. 24, we're number 24 to 25. We're losing millions of visitors every single year. We're losing billions of dollars of economic growth because our convention center, it sucks. Simple as that. It's up, it's down, it's around the corner, it's over the street. It's small. The largest space they have is 600,000 square feet in one area. And we're losing billions of dollars. What we want to do is build a world-class convention center that we're going to get everyone in the world coming over, mostly North America, coming over, all these associations, to have a convention here. And when they land here, the best marketing tool we have is them going back home and saying, I went to Toronto. It's a world-class city. I was at the convention center, and my kids were over in the water park, or they're at the beautiful science center that's going in there. And at nighttime, we're going to a concert at the RBC Amphitheater. We're going to have a beautiful amphitheater. We're going to have 50 acres of trails, beaches. Like, this is a no-brainer, folks. I'm a business guy, and I look at what is the ROI. And for years, the ROI is zero at the convention center. And it was a bunch of dandelions and weeds growing through Ontario Place that was left derelict for 15 years. And people my age remember going to Ontario Place, hanging out in the summer. A whole generation missed that opportunity. We're bringing that opportunity back to the people of Ontario and around the world. We have the greatest people in the world, the greatest jurisdiction in Ontario, and the best city in the world in Toronto, and we have to make it the best. For too long, elected officials on the city and other places, they're okay with being in last place. I hate last place. I want to be number one in the world in everything we do, and we can do it. We have the tools, we have the ingenuity, we have the brightest, smartest people in the world, and we're going to get it done. We're building the largest transit system in North America. Just think of that. The largest transit system in North America is being built. We're building more roads and highways and bridges. So we're investing into hospitals, 50 new sites, $60 billion. I could sit here and rattle them off all day, but we're going to be number one. I'm tired of being last place with the greatest jurisdiction in the world.
Respectfully, Premier, the parents and teachers wouldn't see the benefits of that directly in classrooms, though, and they would argue that an entire generation is growing up in underfunded schools right now. So it's my understanding that the upcoming budget isn't going to include a major funding boost for K-12 schools. Why isn't your government considering that?
Well, again, can I maybe offline get all the media in one room, and we're going to inform them? We're going to show budget 2018, 2019, all the way through. And do you want to go at it? Because I know he's gnawing at the bit right now. He watches line item by line item. But what you're misleading the people. And it's your responsibility as a media to tell the truth. You're misleading the people when you say funding is going down. I will personally bring you in my office with the Minister of Finance, and we're going to go line by line, and then you're going to be able to go out there and tell the people accurate figures. So I'll hand it over to either one of you.
Yeah, no, thanks. Thanks, and sadly, the Hungarian baseball team didn't do too well, but maybe next time. Look, first off, if you look at it, just look at the numbers, and I'm sure there's some great math students in this school. The per pupil funding has gone up since we've gone in a government by over 30%. Inflation's been 20%, so we're putting more into per pupil funding. It doesn't just stop there. The childcare spaces that you talked about, Premier, the amount of schools, modern schools that we're building, these are all increased under our government. So we're making the investments in our children, but as has been said over and over again, none of these dollars matter if it's not flowing to the teachers, to the front lines, to the people educating our children for the benefit of our children and our parents. It's as simple as that. We're going after the system to make sure that $30 billion to $43 billion increase since we came into power is getting to the people who matter most.
Yeah, look, let me just say this, Tina, I'm sure where you went, but look, we saw what happens when you close down an economy, right? When you close down an economy, we saw it during COVID. There was no money to pay for schools. There was no money to pay for hospitals. There was no money to pay for transit transportation. We went into large debt because of that. So to suggest that you close down an economy and that will help pay for health, education, and everything else that the province has to do is simply an incorrect way of doing it. And we have the evidence of that just 2 years ago. So you can have a strong economy. You can make the investments that the Premier wants to make. Look, as we were coming here, we passed a new transit line. Stouffville has two-way all-day go finally into my riding. That never existed before. That opens up areas of my community for teachers who might want to work here, who might not otherwise have been able to. And as the Minister of Finance said, I don't think teachers care or parents care that we get up here and tell you, oh, it's the highest level of funding. You know what they care about? That when their kids leave the system, they can actually have a job. That's what they care about. And as I said earlier, we can be arrogant about $43 billion Ministry of Education budget. You can go across the world and you will find that Ontario is one of the highest levels of investment in education. We can be arrogant about it and say, great, job well done. Or we can drill down and say, what is it that we have to do with that $43 billion investment that gives our kids the opportunity to succeed? And what I'm hearing is it's not about the other things that happen at boards. It's about giving the resources and the opportunity for educators to give all that they can, the support that they need so that our kids leave the system extraordinarily well placed to have that good job. And if we don't make the investments that the Premier is talking about and has been completely focused on, they're going to leave the province and find those jobs somewhere else. So I think you can have, I know you can have both. And without a strong economy, as the Premier says, he drills this down all the time. You need a strong economy to be able to pay for everything. And now we have every bit of evidence. If COVID didn't teach us what happens when an economy is closed down, I don't know what will. That was a clear indication of what happens when an economy slows down, closes down. It's not in the benefit of its people. And that's why we're coming out as stronger than we ever have before. And that's why we're constantly investing in education. But just again, I don't think parents care. They don't care what we say. What they care about is what their kids come out of the system with, and are they well placed to succeed? And that's the only thing he told me, the Premier told me when I took the job, is make sure that they have a better opportunity to succeed, and I'll be there to support you in doing it. And that's what this announcement today is frankly all about.
Hi, Premier. Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
Hi, Siobhan.
Your announcement today is only focused at elementary teachers. I'm wondering if you had contemplated at all extending this to the secondary level, even if it was at a different dollar amount than $750.
Good question. I asked the minister that, so you can answer that as well.
Yeah, there are other sports in the secondary school system, but this is a start, right? This is a start. We're, as I said, we're sending a survey out to the elementary school teachers today, and hopefully when they get back, it'll be in their inbox. And I'm absolutely certain that we're going to start hearing from some of the secondary teachers, specific secondary teachers who have certain challenges. So this is a start of what I think can be something that is not only beneficial to our elementary side, but perhaps in the future we can look at more specifically targeted supports for secondary school teachers as well. But the Premier said, look, this has to get out there. You have to do it as quickly as possible, get it into our elementary schools by September, and this allows us to do that.
I have a question actually for Minister Bethlenfalvy. This comes to you from my colleague John Woodward. He says insurance companies are complaining that the take-all-comers rule forces them to insure people they believe are fraudsters and increases payouts for auto crimes specifically. Are you concerned about that, and should Ontario do something about it?
There's no room for bad actors. We'll always go after the bad actors. And, for example, when auto theft took off, the Premier, along with our colleagues, said we got to deal with that. And so we invested a lot more money in supporting our frontline officers to combat guns and gangs. We funded an auto theft specialized group to go after auto theft. We see the numbers coming down. There's always more to do. We want to make sure that people feel safe in this province. That had the impact of increasing in insurance rates, clearly, with all the auto theft. But now we've reversed that. We took action. And if there's a bad actor out there, we're going after the bad actor in consultation with the insurance companies, with our great police officers, who the Premier's is huge, and we're all huge champions of making us safe. So we're not going to relent in that regard.
This will be the last reporter.
A question, I think, for Education Minister
Yes.
Paul Calandra. Minister, you referenced earlier the 8 school boards that are under provincial control right now. Do you have a date for when that supervision is going to end? And can you say, will trustees at those specific boards, do you believe they will be elected again in the fall?
You didn't like the answer the Premier gave to Colin on that one, right? So you didn't like it. Well, let me just say this. The Premier is right. Look, I haven't given the Premier my suggestions yet for reform, so I'll do that very soon. A whole host of options for the Premier, and then to my cabinet colleagues. So that has yet to be decided where we go from there. So it depends on what we decide. But full stop. If it's not in the best interest of students, it's not in the best interest of teachers delivering, then it is not a direction we'll go in. With respect to the 8 boards that we have under supervision, they're not going to be turned back until they are on the right path. Like, full stop. If it takes us 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, I don't care. When they are on the right path, when they are doing what's in the best interests of our teachers, students, and parents, and if there are still trustees, we'll turn them over, right? But regardless of what happens with the governance changes, I don't see a world in which those schools are turned, the 8 boards that we have under our jurisdiction right now are turned over anytime. There's a lot of work that has to happen in these 8 boards. So we're going to keep at it, but no time soon.
And just on today's announcement, my understanding is there's a number of school boards that already have kind of charge card, procurement card kind of programs for petty or small supplies, let's say, for day-to-day running of schools. Can you elaborate on the costing of what this new program will cost the province, what the investment is, and is that going to be subtracted from what school boards kind of already have to spend on petty class supplies through their own procurement programs?
No, we're not subtracting at all from what school boards already have. It is random from board to board. It's actually a different amount. It's not a set amount. Some boards will give it to the principal and have the principal distribute. Some boards will make none of this available to teachers. Some boards will force teachers onto their procurement page, which is far more expensive. I'm hearing it from teacher after teacher. I had one teacher show me, and it was much more expensive than the purchasing power of the province. So we're not taking anything away. We are actually adding on to this. So it is a significant increase in funding province-wide to get this done. I'll have to get back to you on the exact. I don't want to give you the wrong number of what the investment will be, but it is a significant investment to get more money to our teachers, to make it consistent. Because it's one of the things we keep talking about, right? Is it has to be consistent across the province. It shouldn't, like, your quality of education shouldn't depend on what part of the province you live in. And that's what this does. It evens it out. And then we have to look at other things. One of the things the Premier has also said to me is when you're looking at this is, is it different in Northern Ontario than it's going to be in Southern Ontario, right? Sometimes the cost of supplies are much more expensive in the north than they are in the south. So that's why we're bringing the purchasing power of the province together to this. But top line, we're not cutting any funding. We're not taking away what's already in the formula. We're adding on this $750, taking it in essence away from the boards and giving it to teachers directly, and giving them an online platform which they will go into, and they will have an account, and they will be able to use up to $750. And later today we'll hear from them. So there's a good stack of things that this is what we've heard from them. But I'm sure there's something that we've missed, and through the survey we'll get a better understanding of what else they need. Thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you again. I'm going to repeat it 1,000 more times. I want to thank the educators, the teachers, Principal Roach, and your whole team here. And don't forget about the custodians that clean the school. So it's everyone that works well together. Teachers' assistants too, and hopefully I didn't miss anyone involved in the system. Folks, I can tell you 1,000%. Paul, this guy lives, breathes, eats education. I talked to him all weekend. This weekend, Paulie, I call him Paulie, sorry. Paul, I talked to him 50 times. I'm not exaggerating. It was every 2 minutes. I'm picking up the phone and this and that. And the guy's passionate. He's calling back parents. Who does that? What? Any time in the history of our province, when does a premier and a minister of education, minister of finance, call parents back and listen to them? We had an issue in Ottawa that he resolved over the weekend for 4 schools because they have access, unprecedented access to myself, finance minister, our whole team. There's a rule. You give your phone number out, you return phone calls. And we couldn't do it if we didn't have a prudently fiscal manager of taxpayers' money, and that's the finance minister. I have 2 of the greatest ministers ever. I'm not just saying that. They're passionate about helping the people. Can I tell you something? These guys don't need this job, believe me, especially this guy. He's loaded. So I'm just telling you, he doesn't need this. This guy, he's working around the clock on the budget, literally line item by line item by line item. He could be running a bank somewhere making gazillions. He doesn't. He's passionate about the people of Ontario, as I am, as Paul, our whole team. So again, thank you to all the educators, the teachers. God bless you. We're going to focus on the classroom, and we're going to have this running like a well-oiled machine. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.